Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the cybersecurity landscape of 2025. I'm your host, Marius, and I'm a CISO of a global fintech organization. So, I've got some juicy insights to share, guys, straight from the mouths of CISOs and industry experts. So, buckle up because things are about to get interesting, guys. First up, let's talk about elephant in the room, or should I say, the AI in the system. I think it's important to address how the trends are changing and shaping our cybersecurity industry. So, first of all, the rise of the generative AI. Is it a friend or is it a foe? Generative AI is exploding, and it's not just changing the way we create content or code, it's essentially revolutionizing the cybersecurity battlefield. Think of it as a double edged sword. On one hand, hackers are using AI to craft incredibly convincing phishing attacks. Imagine getting a call from your bank, but it's actually an AI mimicking your bank's representative's voice. Essentially, that's phishing. So that's voice phishing. And it's getting scarily good. AI is also being used to create fake identities, bypass security checks, and even to manipulate data within AI models. So there's a lot of things happening in AI world, but don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. AI is also a powerful tool for cyber defenders. Security teams are using AI to analyze threats, automate responses, and even resolve incidents before they escalate. Think of it as having an army of tireless security analysts working 24/7. You know, I think the world is changing and how it's revolutionizing how we do cybersecurity. I think AI is obviously here to stay, um, and I think it's what's really worrying is obviously threat actors are using AI to build malware samples to build more convincing phishing attacks. So that's obviously here to stay. But obviously, as I kind of alluded, defenders are using AI too, and they are leveraging AI to the best capabilities because AI allows us to sift through mass amounts of data. Think about security operations, the security operations centers that work 24/7. The amount of data and the amount of noise our modern security operations centers create. AI is a great tool to be able to detect anomalies and find the early signs of intrusion. But here's the kicker: AI is evolving so rapidly that even CISOs are struggling to keep up. If we talk about, for example from Cloudflare's chief security officer, he predicts that in 10 years, companies will either embrace AI or face extinction. I think the challenge here is to enable AI's potential while mitigating its risks. Now, let's move on to the topic that's been plaguing us for years: ransomware. I think 2025, we're talking about ransomware probably 2.0. It's potentially being more refined and more ruthless. And unfortunately, ransomware isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's getting more sophisticated thanks to, you guessed it, AI. Hackers are using AI to analyze massive data sets, automate attacks, or even tailor ransom demands to individual victims. But here's the new twist: ransomware gangs are starting to favor stealth over disruption. So instead of encrypting data and causing major outages, They're quietly stealing data and demanding ransoms to prevent its release. Essentially, this allows them to fly under the radar and avoid unwanted attention from law enforcement. Now, the few things I'm going to add here and share, guys, with you that, you know, AI enables unsophisticated threat actors to build malware samples and attacks very quickly. So, entry level to become a cybercrime gang, ransomware as a service gang becomes much lower, and that becomes very scary. So, I think on the flip side, obviously, we have tools and security defenses are improving and using AI as well. I think it just becomes a race between defensive AI and offensive AI. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how it's going to shape all of this. Talking about ransomware, you know, guess who's still in the crosshairs? Usually it's healthcare, hospitals, and clinics essentially remain the prime targets for ransomware attacks. As we saw with the massive data breaches at Change Healthcare and Ascension in 24, the ransomware is here to stay and it's attacking everyone. The good news is, though, that healthcare organizations are fighting back by adopting AI powered identity and access management solutions and exploring decentralized identity approaches. I think 2025 also is going to bring interesting approaches of how we're going to solve our identity and access management problems. And especially, I think what we need to think, what sometimes is misunderstood or left behind, is it's not only our user identities. We have non-human identities such as SSH keys, we have API keys, we have machine identities that usually are over permissioned. They sometimes are embedded in our code, which can cause a lot of problems. So we need to always think about and take stock and gain visibility in our non-human identities to be able to detect threats and prevent credential exposure. Now, let's zoom out and look at a bigger picture. Geopolitics plays a huge role in cybersecurity. State-sponsored cyber espionage is on the rise, with the major players like Russia, China, and Iran leading the charge. But let's not think about just global conflicts. Regional tensions are also fueling cyber attacks as various threat actors seek to gain an advantage through cyber warfare. And we can't forget about hacktivism. Politically and religiously motivated groups are launching increasingly sophisticated attacks to further their agendas. Now, on the legal front, we have to get ready for a regulatory roller coaster. And I think that's where we need to explore different regimes or different countries, how they approach. We often talk about differences between Europe and US. Europe is being overregulated and they think that that's what stems our innovation. But the problem we have in cybersecurity usually is that organizations without regulation leave cybersecurity controls or initiatives uh, at the back of their, you know, budget. That's the place where they try and save the money. So while the Biden administration has been pushing for stricter cybersecurity regulations, a potential shift in the political landscape could lead to a patchwork of state level laws. This means companies will need to be more proactive than ever in navigating the complex world of compliance. And, you know, speaking about navigating complexity, let's talk about the evolving role of a CISO. And I think this is really interesting place and space how cybersecurity roles obviously are changing. We got, I think, first CISO was appointed just over 30 years ago, and the journey that the role has taken so far has been tremendous, and it's going to keep changing and evolving. We have potentially caused that CISO role changing into Chief Resilience Officer. We're talking about resilient. We're talking about reporting lines usually within the businesses. So CISOs have been under immense pressure in recent years. They've often been facing, personal liability for data breaches, but I think the tide is turning. CISO's role is shifting from being essentially a scapegoat to a strategic partner. And I think that's an important point here to mention. Um, that strategic partner is normally responsible for managing and explaining data breaches, not just preventing them. CISOs, I think, for years been fighting for that seat at the table. And I think we are seeing signs that CISOs are finally going to be acknowledged. They're going to become part of the C suite, part of the board. They just need to prove themselves. I think CISOs and leaders in general are struggling to showcase return on investment on their cybersecurity programs. They struggling to showcase value. But I think hopefully we are seeing the tide turning and how is going to change that. Obviously, the pressure to innovate and adapt remains. CISOs must figure out how to enable AI in their organizations while mitigating its risks. They also need to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to emerging threats and compliance requirements. I think the important point, which I always mention to other fellow and peer CISOs, is that AI is here to stay. And I think that's how you get a seat at the table. You need to be the force for organization that pushes AI adoption forward whilst embedding security controls uh, and making sure that how we adopt AI, it's done with all of the risks addressed. And you can be the force that changes that. You can be the force that leads AI adoption and become that trusted technical advisor to organization and actually getting that so wanted seat at the table. Now, let's talk about another topic that's close to my heart: supply chain security. Obviously, the SolarWinds attack in 2020 was a wake up call. It showed just how devastating supply chain attacks can be. And unfortunately, they're only becoming more common. So I think in 2025, we expect to see more attacks targeting third party software, cloud services, and key suppliers. And obviously, AI becomes more prevalent. Even AI supply chains could be at risk. And I think finally, and most importantly, let's not forget about APIs, which essentially is application programming interfaces. So that's how our applications currently, especially in, if you're building microservices applications, they are normally interfacing through APIs. So application programming interfaces, they are under attack. They're, securing the connective tissue of the digital world. So APIs are the glue that holds digital world together. But they also are the prime target for hackers. As applications become more complex and interconnected, the number of APIs and their interactions will explode, which essentially will create more opportunities for exploration. The good news is, though, that AI can help secure APIs by detecting and blocking malicious activity in real time. So there you have it, guys. A glimpse into the cybersecurity landscape of 2025. There are loads of things happening and there's loads of changes occurring. I think application security is another space where we will see changes and modernization. I think the proliferation of application security posture management tools is here to stay, and I think that's going to help us build better more secure code and allow to self-serve developers their security needs. Things are changing rapidly, and it's very hard to keep up with cybersecurity trends and changes in this world. So it's important to stay up to date. It's important to be aware what role AI is going to play. I think most of us who enter a world of cybersecurity are people who love learning and constantly adapting. And I think that's what we will see is constant adoption and adaptation of what's happening in the world. We need to be at the forefront of changes. We need to be able to build our programs that are, have plans ahead, but be nimble and agile enough to react to threat landscape shifting and changing, as well as geopolitical tensions, how they arise and how they evolve over the next months and weeks. So essentially, it's a world where AI is both a weapon and a shield, where ransomware is more sophisticated than ever, and where geopolitical tensions and regulatory complexities are adding fuel to the fire. But don't despair. By staying informed, embracing innovation, and prioritizing cybersecurity, we can navigate these challenges and build a safer digital future. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more cybersecurity content. And if you have any questions or comments, please, guys, drop them below. Stay safe out there.